In mid-November, Iran marked a significant milestone in its space ambitions with the successful launch of 2 new satellites, Kowsar and HodHod. This launch represents a pivotal moment in Iran's ongoing efforts to enhance its space capabilities, following a previous achievement in March when the Chamran satellite was successfully orbited using the domestically developed Qa'em space launch vehicle. Looking ahead, Iran plans to accelerate its space program with the upcoming launch of up to 7 additional satellites within the next 5 months, utilizing both the Qa'em and the Simorgh, another indigenous SLV. These advancements come in the face of decades of harsh, unjust sanctions imposed by the West, underscoring Iran's determination to assert its technological independence and develop its space exploration capabilities against all odds. But what significance specifically do the launches of the Kowsar and HodHod satellites have for Iran's space program? What are the main challenges hindering the country's space development? And what are Tehran's long-term goals for its space industry? These and more on this edition of Iran Today. Today, the Islamic Republic of Iran is recognized as one of the world's top 10 countries with the capability to both develop and launch satellites. This achievement highlights Iran's advancements in aerospace technology and its growing independence in space exploration. Since the victory of the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Iran's adversaries have attempted to stifle the country's economic and scientific progress through various sanctions, including the space industry. However, Iran has not only preserved but has also advanced its capabilities in space technology, marking a significant success for the nation. Mohammad Amin Ahangari serves as the editor-in-chief of SPASH, an Iranian news agency dedicated to reporting on space technology and related developments.
The
space industry is a completely international industry. It is very challenging for a country to advance in this big industry, relying solely on its own resources, and only a few countries can do this. We have compensated for the negative effects of the sanctions with our human resources. Educated young individuals with great perseverance have become the main drivers of the country's progress in the space industry and have helped Iran achieve indigenous knowledge in this field. From this perspective, yes, Iran is truly considered an exception.
What sets Iran apart from other countries, at least in the West Asian region, is its commitment to using domestic capabilities and indigenous technology. In today's world, satellites play a crucial role across numerous fields, including telecommunications, environmental monitoring, and reconnaissance. Recognizing this, Iran is steadfast in its pursuit of developing strong infrastructure and advancing its missile and space technology. Masoud Tayefi Fijani is an Iranian space expert who believes that the advancements in Iran's space industry are exceptional. Generally speaking, what is the significance of aerospace industry and technology for any country?
فناوری فضایی رو موتور پیشرفت فناوری میگن.
Space technology is considered the engine of technological advancement. The reason is that every space project, including these 2 satellites, HodHod and Kowsar, is the result of cohesive teamwork with various specialties over a relatively long period. Therefore, when a space project comes to fruition, it indicates that a specialized team in different technology fields has been able to work together under strong management to produce an advanced product. Unlike other projects, space projects are not typical. They are not like assembling a car on a production line, but rather unique and singular projects full of challenges and issues requiring problem-solving abilities. Otherwise, your project will fail. Now imagine that such a difficult task succeeds in Iran, a country under the most severe sanctions, where you are on your own and cannot rely on anyone else's help. You have to rely only on your expertise, creativity, and problem-solving skills. In this regard, the success of space projects in Iran speaks volumes.
The two domestically manufactured satellites HodHod and Kowsar have commenced signal transmission. Kowsar has an anticipated lifespan of 3 years, while HodHod is expected to operate for 4 years. The successful reception of signals indicates two key achievements. First, that the launch was successful. Second, that the satellites are functioning properly and they have successfully separated from the launch vehicle. We also sat with Professor Fathollah Ummi of Tarbiyat Modarris University.
دو تا پارامتر بسیار مهم داریم توی پهپاد ماهواره‌ها.
There are two key parameters concerning satellites. First, their operational lifespan in orbit, which we should aim to extend to at least 10 years. Second, services we need to enhance the services these satellites provide. The capacity of satellites to offer services is directly linked to their size. Larger satellites can deliver more services. Most importantly, we need to establish a space station in Earth's orbit, which is an achievable goal.
The Kowsar satellite is a state-of-the-art cubic satellite. Designed in the summer of 2019, Kowsar weighs 30 kilograms and is powered by solar panels. It orbits at an altitude of 500 kilometers and has an expected operational lifespan of 3.6 years. Kowsar is equipped with advanced imaging technology featuring cameras that capture images in both near-infrared and the visible spectrum, including red, green, and blue. With a color imaging range of 15 kilometers and an impressive imaging rate of 6 frames per second, it boasts an average resolution of 3.45 meters ground sample distance, marking it Iran's most advanced satellite to date. The high-resolution remote-sending satellite is designed for a variety of applications, including agricultural management, natural resource monitoring, environmental assessments, and disaster response.
The first application of these satellites is in agriculture. For instance, we need to know how much of a crop is produced annually. These types of satellites can assist us in this matter. This enables officials to understand, for example, which crops are in short supply so they can import them in a timely manner, or which crops are abundant and can be exported. These satellites can also help farmers monitor their crops, determining whether their produce has grown sufficiently or if it is exposed to specific pests. Ultimately, this can significantly increase productivity in the agricultural sector.
Mr. Taifi said such satellites are strategic for the country.
با توجه به چالش‌هایی که کشور ما
The space industry can be very strategic for a country like Iran, which is faced with a lot of challenges. Iran is a vast country with diverse climates and is considered one of the crisis-prone countries in the world amid natural crises. These satellites, considering their applications, can be very helpful in decision-making, planning, resource allocation, and crisis prevention.
The HodHod satellite, on the other hand, is a lightweight telecommunications satellite weighing just 4 kilograms. Also a cubic satellite powered by solar panels, HodHod shares a similar orbital altitude of 500 kilometers but has a slightly longer planned lifetime of 4 years. HodHod serves multiple purposes, including agriculture, land surveying, transportation, and environmental protection. A standout feature of HodHod is the capability to provide Internet of Things services, which will enhance communication in remote and hard-to-reach areas with limited terrestrial network access.
Both communication satellites and imaging satellites play a very important role in crisis management. With these satellites, it is possible to easily and accurately estimate the extent and location of damage. Precise satellite images of incident sites can direct rescuers straight to the scenes without any wasted time.
We have a lot more to cover today, but first let's take a moment to catch up on the latest headlines.
Hello everyone, welcome to the news section of this program. Here we'll go over some important news headlines. Iran front page, Iran's next steps in space, launching Noor 4 satellite. The commander of the IRGC Aerospace Division's space unit has announced the forthcoming launch of the Noor 4 satellite, an advancement on the recently deployed Noor 3's foundation, integrating improved imaging and communication functionalities. General Jafar Abadi detailed the capabilities of the Noor 3 satellite, which can capture high-resolution images with a 5-meter precision from an altitude of 500 kilometers. The satellite also features a signal collection sensor for communications interception, acting as a relay to enhance connectivity. The Noor satellites primarily serve defensive support roles, including reconnaissance and data gathering. Noor 4 is expected to be an upgraded version of Noor 3 with operational capabilities including establishing communications between military units and improving reconnaissance efforts. Tehran Times. Kowsar HodHod satellites sent first signals to Iranian scientists. The Iranian Space Agency announced that the Kowsar and HodHod satellites have been successfully launched into orbit and that the first signals have been received from both. The successful launch of these satellites into orbit underscores the perseverance and commitment of Iran's scientific community, demonstrating the nation's capacity for ongoing innovation and advancement in the aerospace industry. As Iran's satellite program progresses, the country's role in global space exploration efforts is expected to gain greater visibility in the years ahead. Newsweek. Iran joins the space race. Iran has joined the space race alongside the US, China, and Russia as the country launched the first privately developed satellites into space, marking its entrance into the world of space exploration, according to the Tehran Times. Faqih Imani, the CEO of the company behind the creation of the satellite, said that the development process took 15 years, saying, "This is only the beginning for us. We are only going forward from here." The country also launched a research satellite, Madha, earlier this year and used its own vehicle launcher called Simorgh. Describing the launch of the two satellites on Tuesday, Hassan Salarieh, the head of the Iranian Space Agency, said, "Achieving significant goals in this field is unattainable without robust participation from private enterprises. We believe that the private sector should enter this field in a competitive environment considering market criteria." Kayhan. Iran's expanding horizons in outer space. Iran already has several satellites in outer space, such as the research sensing Pars-1 and Khayyam, whose tasks include observation, among other things. Last March, Iran placed the Chamran satellite into orbit on board its Qaem space launch vehicle. With its technology rapidly expanding, Iran will be launching up to 7 more satellites into space during the next 5 months using Qaem and another domestically manufactured SLV named Simorgh. These developments, which are entirely peaceful, have alarmed the US regime, whose sanctions of the past 45 years have failed to deter Iran's progress. Unlike the Americans, the Islamic Republic does not believe in militarizing outer space to the detriment of the environment and ecology of planet Earth. Iran's efforts, like in all other fields, are for peace and progress and in line with the humanitarian aspirations of the Iranian and world people. Its presence in outer space is also vital for safeguarding its sovereignty and territorial integrity, predicting environmental disasters, tracing underground and undersea resources for national development, and frustrating the evil designs of devilish powers. And thank you for joining us this section. Please do stay tuned for the main narrative.
The launch of the 2 new Iranian satellites into orbit signifies the introduction of the country's private sector into space industry and highlights the strengthening of Iranian-Russian cooperation in this field. We visited Space Omid Company in Tehran to speak with its founder and CEO, Dr. Hossein Shahrabi Farahani. He explained that starting a private venture in the space industry is more challenging than it appears. However, he noted that hope has been crucial to the company's success. After all, Omid means hope in Farsi. What were some of the challenges that you faced in the beginning?
تقریبا شاید بگم 6 ماه در ابتدای کار ما فقط دنبال فضا می‌گشتیم.
For nearly 6 months, we focused solely on finding a location to set up our team. We engaged with multiple government organizations to secure a building that would allow us to commence our activities as a private company. But we faced numerous challenges and were unsuccessful. Eventually, with the support of the Presidential Deputy for Science and Technology, we were able to establish the company. Acquiring customers also proved to be difficult initially, as few were willing to enter into contracts with us. Many institutions were hesitant to trust a private sector entity operating in the space industry. However, over time, we were able to build that trust and overcome these obstacles.
Developed by Iranian engineers at the local knowledge-based company Omid Faza, or Space Omid, over the past 5 years, the Kowsar and HodHod satellites represent a significant landmark in Iran's pursuit of advanced space technology. Founded in 2018, the Omid Faza company is staffed by talented Iranian university students. Their mission is to design and build lightweight, cost-effective satellites aimed at enhancing satellite systems in low Earth orbit.
How do you assess the role of education and research in your advancements? And do you consider cooperating with universities and scientific institutes?
تقریباً همه تیم کاری ما دانشجوهای دانشگاه بودن.
Nearly all our team members are university students, which fosters a strong connection between our company and the academic community. One of our requirements for students wishing to collaborate with us is that their theses must align with our company's projects. Thanks to the hard work of these students, we have successfully built satellites that meet the country's stringent standards. For instance, the ground sample distance, GSD, used in the Kowsar satellite is the highest quality available in the country. We're committed to tapping into academic talent and plan to continue strengthening our relationship with the university.
The company's mission took a momentum in 2019 with the design and assembly of the Kowsar satellite. It continued with the development of the HodHod satellite. Both satellites were produced with support from Iran's Vice Presidency for Science and Technology, the Iranian Space Agency, and the Iranian Embassy in Moscow. On November 25th, the Kowsar and HodHod satellites were launched from the Vostochny Cosmodrome in Russia aboard a Soyuz rocket. Iran's participation in this launch highlights the growing collaboration between Iran and Russia in space exploration, a partnership that has been developing for nearly 2 decades. Earlier this year, the Iranian Pars-1 remote sensing satellite was launched from the same cosmodrome, while the Khayyam high-resolution imaging satellite was successfully deployed from the Baikonur in August 2022. Dr. Shahrabi told us why they decided to launch their satellites from Russia.
One question that arises is that why you chose a foreign and rather a Russian launch vehicle.
شما وقتی که میخواد کار بین‌المللی، کار فضایی بکنید، حتماً باید رویکرد بین‌المللی داشته باشید. چرا؟
To embark on a project in the space sector, adopting an international perspective is essential. This is a fundamental principle in the industry. Why is this the case? One key reason is economic efficiency. For example, if we plan to launch 200 satellites, offering services to only one country proves to be a very bad idea economically. Therefore, it is crucial to expand our customer base to multiple countries. By bringing Russian companies into the project, we can also extend our services to Russia with their collaboration. Moreover, partnering with established Russian companies in the launch sector has significantly reduced the risk of project failure. As a private company with no prior launch experience, benefiting from the expertise of experienced Russian partners has been vital to our project's success.
The entry of the private sector into Iran's space industry combined with government collaboration is expected to drive motivation and investment in this crucial field. This shift can foster innovation and job creation while also enhancing national security and Iran's standing in the global arena. Though it started serious efforts in space development with some delay in 1996, the Islamic Republic of Iran has successfully built approximately 25 satellites and launched 13 of them into space. These achievements have been accomplished primarily through the country's own capabilities, despite facing numerous challenges and obstacles. Professor Omi served as the head of Iran's Space Research Institute for nearly 7 years. He expressed that the West is firmly opposed to Iran's advancements in the space industry, exerting every effort to undermine the country's space program. What are some of the challenges and obstacles that Iran has faced regarding its aerospace activities?
کشورهایی که دارای این تکنولوژی هستن که تعدادشون هم خیلی کمه.
A number of Western countries possess the technology to build and launch satellites. These countries have consistently attempted to hinder Iran's progress in the space industry. In fact, so-called developed countries have actively sought to prevent Iran's advancement. During my presidency at the Space Research Institute, while we were engaged in aerospace research, the U.S. Office of Foreign Assets Control imposed sanctions on both the institute and me. Many other research centers in the country that have been active in this field have also faced sanctions from Western countries.
Iran has made significant strides in its space program, achieving remarkable milestones since its first successful launch of the Safir space launch vehicle in 1996. The Safir rocket was launched again in February 2008 and in 2009. It carried the Iranian satellite Omid into orbit, marking Iran's entry into the exclusive club of space-faring nations. This remarkable progress is credited to the determination and innovation of Iranian youth who have embraced the mantra, "We can." Their efforts have propelled Iran's space ambitions forward despite all problems on the way.
A positive development that has recently begun is that the satellites being built in Iran are no longer solely for research purposes. Rather, they're satellites that can provide extensive services to various sectors of the country. For example, the HodHod and Kowsar satellites or the Chamran or Noor satellites have wide-ranging applications such as imaging and facilitating communications that the general public can benefit from.
In 2009, Iran sought to take significant steps in its space exploration endeavors by launching living beings into space. That year, the Kowsar 3 spacecraft successfully carried several animals, including a desert rat, a turtle, and various worms, along with human cells into orbit. Following a series of challenges, the Pishgam spacecraft achieved a historic milestone in 2012 by successfully launching a monkey named Aftab to an altitude of 120 kilometers. After a 20-minute flight, Aftab returned safely to Earth, marking a significant step toward Iran's goal of sending humans into space in the future. What are some of the future plans and missions for Iran's aerospace activities?
سند هوافضایی که در سال 1392
The space document approved by the Supreme Council of the Cultural Revolution in 2013 mentions that Iran must move towards placing humans in orbit. Placing humans in orbit means that we need to create living conditions for them in space. This requires extensive research, and during the 7 years I served as the head of the Space Research Institute, we accomplished a great deal towards this goal, and this effort has continued after my tenure. At that time, we also launched monkeys into space and successfully returned them alive to Earth. Sending humans into space is part of Iran's space program, and we are actively working in this direction.
Despite operating on a relatively modest space budget of approximately $20 million, Iran's achievements stand out when compared to the United States, which spends around $9 billion, and Russia, which allocates $6 billion to its space program. As Iran continues to push the boundaries of its space program, it not only demonstrates its technological prowess, but also solidifies its position on the global stage, challenging all the challenges.
The imposed sanctions can hinder the country's development path. Nevertheless, with Operation True Promise 1 and Operation True Promise 2, which were essentially retaliatory operations by Tehran against the Israeli regime, Iran demonstrated that its military sector has developed astoundingly despite the most severe restrictions on it. In these two operations, Iran showed that even under the harshest sanctions, development is possible and products can be built to the highest global standards. In my opinion, if the models used in the military sector are applied to the civilian space industry, we may witness advancements beyond what we have seen so far.